Did the lost city of Atlantis, a city said to be larger than Libya and Asia combined, really get swallowed up by earthquakes and floods in a single day? Were the pyramids built by slaves dragging stones that weighed 2.5 and 15 tons each for miles? Was the Trojan Horse a real device used by Greek forces to end the long siege of Troy? What are facts and what is fiction? Today, we are going to be debunking some of the most tantalizing myths that have captivated us in movies, books, and sometimes even in classrooms. From the legendary lost city that sunk without a trace to the greatest of empires that might not have been so grand after all. We've got a lineup of myths that might just blow your mind or at least change the way you see history. Myth 1. The Lost City of Atlantis. The Lost City of Atlantis is a tale that has captured the imagination of generations. According to the legend, Atlantis was a technologically advanced and prosperous island that sank into the sea in a single day and night of misfortune. The story is often used to speculate about advanced ancient civilizations and catastrophic events that might have wiped them from historical memory. The source of the Atlantis story traces back to the ancient Greek philosopher Plato around 360 BCE. In his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, Plato introduces Atlantis as a powerful and ideal state that existed 9,000 years before his own time. Plato's descriptions were likely intended as a fictional allegory related to his theories of politics and society, rather than a genuine historical account. The detailed geographic descriptions provided by Plato do not match known geological data. For instance, there is no evidence of a landmass sinking in the Atlantic Ocean beyond the Pillars of Hercules that correspond to the timeline or scale described. Extensive archaeological explorations in and around the Mediterranean and the Atlantic have not uncovered any artifacts or remnants that can be definitively attributed to a civilization as advanced and expansive as Atlantis. The structure and elements of the Atlantis story bear strong resemblance to other mythological narratives of ancient cultures, which often include catastrophic floods, divine punishments, and exceptional civilizations that serve to deliver moral or spiritual lessons. Myth 2. Trojan Horse was real. The Trojan Horse is one of the most iconic stories from ancient mythology. According to the tale, Greek soldiers constructed a giant wooden horse to hide inside as a deceptive gift to the besieged city of Troy. The Trojans, thinking the horse was a peace offering marking the end of the 10-year war, brought it within their city walls only to be ambushed by the soldiers hidden inside during the night. The myth of the Trojan horse comes from the epic poetry of the ancient Greeks, particularly the works attributed to Homer. There is no concrete archaeological evidence to suggest that the Trojan horse as described by Homer ever existed. The story is likely a mythological embellishment meant to illustrate the cunning and strategy of the Greeks. The actual ancient city of Troy, identified in modern-day Turkey, shows evidence of war, but nothing corroborates the existence of a literal giant horse. The idea of constructing a large wooden horse capable of hiding a significant number of soldiers and then having it transported into a fortified city poses logistical challenges. The effort required to build and move such a massive structure covertly is impractical without detection. Ancient siege warfare typically involved direct assaults, prolonged sieges to starve a city into submission, or the use of scalable ladders and battering rams. Some scholars suggest that the story of the Trojan horse could be a mythologized version of a real event, where a horse symbolically represents a type of siege engine or a military strategy cleverly disguised as a peace offering. In ancient military jargon, horse might have referred to a siege tower or a battering ram. Alternatively, the horse as an emblem of Poseidon, who in mythology was said to have helped build the walls of Troy, could symbolize a catastrophic earthquake that led to Troy's final downfall, which was then romanticized in legend. Myth 3. The Great Pyramids built by slaves. The image of slaves building the Great Pyramids of Giza is a familiar scene in many historical narratives and media portrayals. According to this myth, thousands of slaves were forced to labor under harsh conditions to construct the massive monuments on the order of tyrannical pharaohs. The idea that slaves built the pyramids can be traced back to Greek historians like Herodotus and Diodorus Siculus, who wrote centuries after the pyramids were constructed. These historians often relied on second-hand accounts and their interpretations of Egyptian society. Herodotus, visiting Egypt in the 5th century BCE, over 2,000 years after the pyramids were built, described the builders as slaves. This depiction likely reflected his cultural perspectives and biases rather than historical facts. It has been perpetuated by Hollywood films and popular culture, reinforcing the images of slaves dragging huge blocks of stones across the desert. Modern archaeological findings tell a different story. Excavations and discoveries near the pyramids, particularly in the workers' cemeteries found at Giza, reveal that the pyramid builders were not slaves, but rather a well-organized workforce of skilled laborers, craftsmen, and seasonal workers. These workers were respected members of society, evidenced by their burials close to the sacred pyramids. The tombs of these workers include items that suggest that they were valued for their skills and contributions. Their graves contained provisions for the afterlife, which indicates that they were cared and respected for within their community. Studies suggest that the labor force for the pyramids were composed of a rotating system of conscripted workers who served in a form of civic duty or tax payment to the state. These workers were organized into teams and lived in planned communities near the pyramids. Records and findings show that workers were provided with food, medical care, clothing, which supports the view that they were not slaves but rather employed laborers who contributed to a state project. So what do you think of these myths? Do you think archaeologists will ever find the lost city of Atlantis? Are there other myths you want me to take a look at? Answer in the comment section. I will create more videos on myths that we think are really true if you guys like this video.